Alright, dear BS Academy audience, I'm here with another episode of our ICHIMOKU indicator tutorial series. In this video, I want to talk specifically about the Kumo cloud. We won't be covering other components today since we've already gone through them in previous episodes. I've explained all the details about Chikuspan, Tenkan-sen, and Kijun-sen in previous videos. If you haven't watched those episodes yet, you should start from the first part. Visit the Ichimoku playlist on our channel and watch each tutorial one by one from the beginning until you get to this one. Today we're going to dive into the Kumo cloud. In the first part, when I was introducing the different components of this indicator, I explained that the Kumo cloud, as shown here in the image, projects 26 candles into the future. It actually shows us the next 26 periods. As I mentioned before, the Kumo cloud is composed of two lines, Senku span A and Senku span B. If Senku span A is above, which is the green line, and Senku span B is below, the cloud appears green, indicating an uptrend or an up Kumo. Conversely, when these two lines cross each other, like at this point where Senku span B goes above and Senku span A goes below, the cloud turns red, indicating a down Kumo or a downtrend. To easily and freely register with the quotex broker, click on the link in the video description. When this happens, our Kumo cloud moves ahead of the candles. If these two Senku span lines cross and change the color of the cloud, like turning from red to green, it signals a potential trend change. As you can see here in the image, this indicates that a trend reversal might be imminent, and the trend has changed. If we look at this more closely, we see that exactly when our Kumo cloud was here, the candles were in this area. The cloud forms ahead of the candles, and here where the two Senku span A and B lines cross, our cloud turns bearish. This resulted in the price drop we see here on the candles, continuing its downward trend. We observe that this pattern continues. Now, if these lines cross again and our cloud turns green, signaling the start of an uptrend, we will see that the trend changes to an upward direction. Alright, regarding the Kumo cloud, there is a general point I mentioned in the previous parts, but I'll explain it again for those who haven't seen those parts, and for those who have, it will be a review. The Kumo cloud, in general, has a supportive or resistant property. If it is below the candles, it acts as a support. If it is above the candles, it acts as a resistance. If the candles reach the Kumo cloud and are inside the cloud, we do not trade at all. If they manage to break through the cloud, we can trade in that direction as a breakout occurs. This happens because in such a situation, when we see a downward trend and the candles break the cloud from above to below, a support level has been broken. The same applies to the Tenkan-sen and Kijun-sen lines. If they cut through the Kumo cloud, the trend continues in that direction. We also explained that if the Chiku span can break through the cloud downward, the same thing happens. The Chiku span, as you can see on the chart, moves opposite to the candles, while the Kumo cloud moves ahead of the candles. As we see now, the Chiku span lags behind the candles. So when the Chiku span breaks the cloud, our candles were forming at that point, giving us a bearish signal from the past. Now, I want to explain something about the Kumo cloud that I think will be clearer if we view it on MetaTrader. You can draw a trend line or a channel on the Kumo cloud itself to better understand its movements. Notice the areas where the cloud itself forms a peak, or if you look closely, the cloud has both peaks and valleys. For instance here, see these peaks? These are important for us. We can draw a trend line on these or create a channel. Here, I'll draw a trend line to explain something to you. Let's assume the candles are moving here and the cloud in this section hasn't yet fully formed. We can draw a trend line using these two bottoms of our cloud. We can also draw its channel. It doesn't really make much difference. The upper line of the channel isn't crucial for us. Whenever this trend line we've drawn is cut by the cloud itself, that gives us a signal as well. As we said, our cloud moves 26 candles ahead. Let me draw a 26 candle line here. See? Exactly where this cloud managed to break this line and cross it. If you notice, our cloud moved up here. Let me zoom in so it's clearer. Our ascending cloud moved up, and here its color changed as the two Senko span A and B lines switched places. This red cloud, our descending cloud, managed to break this trend line. With a distance of 26 candles, our candles are here. So the cloud forming ahead broke the trend line here, and we saw a price drop on our chart. Alright, if I want to explain this again in another scenario, let's consider the bearish case. We had a trend line like this here. Let me zoom in a bit. Now, we don't focus on the bottom part because it isn't relevant in this bearish scenario. Here, we see that our green cloud, our bullish cloud, managed to break this trend line and move upward. Now let's see what happened 26 candles before this on our chart. So we mark 26 candles backward. Here, exactly 26 candles before the cloud formed. Before the cloud, our candles were here. We haven't seen these candles yet. When our cloud managed to break this trend line and moved up, we see that we had a bullish movement and the candles went higher, showing a few green candles in the image. To explain it better, our cloud is moving ahead and the candles are here. When we draw this trend line, or even the channel, using this trend line, we can plot the channel both above and below. Let me explain it better. Whenever our cloud manages to break this trend line or any trend lines we've drawn, you see now this lower one isn't much of our focus here. If our cloud comes forward and breaks this trend line and moves upward, our candles are further behind. This gives us a signal of a trend reversal, indicating that our trend is becoming bullish. This is another way to get signals using the Kumo cloud. I started explaining different scenarios with each component of the Ichimoku indicator from the first part. I introduced them to you, explained their functions, and demonstrated how to use each of them to get signals. Now, if you combine these elements, if you get a signal confirmed by most of these different parts of the indicator, that signal will be very strong. If you only rely on one component, well, these things are somewhat based on experience. You see, friends, I'm trying to teach you this indicator very clearly and step by step. The rest of the work depends on your practice. No matter how much I explain, you might not understand what I'm saying until you experience it yourself and get into the work. You absolutely need to practice. The tutorials can only help to a certain extent, but the rest depends on you, your practice, and experiencing it on the chart. So you must practice thoroughly on a demo account to understand which signals have more strength using each method. When I say that, for example, the Kumo cloud acts as a resistance or support. If you get a bullish signal when the cloud is above the candles and you trade it, you might make a profit once or twice, but if most of your trades are losses, you'll realize the cloud here acts as resistance, so I shouldn't trade. Sometimes when you see that the cloud is above, it gives a bearish signal, or maybe the Chiku span is giving a signal, or the Kumo cloud has cut through a line, or the Tenkan-sen and Kijun-sen, as I explained in previous sessions, are giving a signal and the cloud is also above. We understand that it's a very strong signal. We can rely on it and make a profitable trade. All of this depends on your practice. I can only give you clues and explain the process. You need to experience it yourself. Nothing replaces experience in this market, friends. I've mentioned this before, even outside of the Ichimoku topic. Consider a simple trend line or a simple support and resistance. If you practice trading with these simple SNRs, focusing on breakouts or pullbacks, and you practice a lot, get to know the market, with just this one method, you can be successful. But don't expect a very quick and easy ascent. In the long run, you need to gain experience, focus on the techniques, and see which method aligns more with your personality and style. Stick to that method. In this video, I wanted to teach you the details of the Kumo cloud. We can draw channels on the cloud itself and draw trend lines to get signals from the Kumo cloud. You can combine these with the points mentioned in previous sessions to increase the strength of your signals and add extra confirmation to them. In the next video, I will teach you time analysis using the Kumo cloud. I have already covered time analysis with Kijun Sen, and now I want to teach you how to do it with the Kumo cloud. So, don't miss the next session, as it will be an important video.
Dear friends, to make sure you don't miss any of our videos, please subscribe to the BS Academy channel. Also, activate the notification bell so that you are informed as soon as we publish new videos. Thank you for your support.